Hey guys, Coach Warren here, back for another Smash video. This week we're going to be using a ball and a roller. If you don't have a roller, that's okay. You can use just the ball if you need. So this week's Smash, we're going to be focusing on priming your body for a run. Just because lots of people are doing that right now, I thought it was a good idea to show people what I like to do before a run. Kind of helps mitigate any soreness or anything like that when you're going for a run. Maybe you haven't run for a while, or you're sore from running, or you just don't know how to warm up properly for a run. So what we're going to do is we're going to start bottom up, starting with that ball, lacrosse ball, tennis ball, whichever one you want. And like in the other videos we've done, we're going to start with some rolling in the foot. So stepping on that ball, rolling around to find a tight spot, and then just sitting on that spot. So really important when you're running that you're not just landing with your heel right out in front of you that stops you. You want to actually be landing underneath your hip in that midfoot to ball your foot and driving forward through when you're running. Reason is that takes a lot of that force when you're putting on the brakes like that. A lot of impacts going through the heel into the knee and hip can cause a lot of knee and hip issues. A good way of avoiding that is actually just bringing that foot back to here when you're landing with that midfoot, using that ankle joint to take out some of that impact. So if you find any tight spots here in the arch, sit on it for about 10 seconds, move around, find the next spot until your foot's feeling pretty loose and pretty good, then you can move on to the next one. So I got some tight spots here, but I went for a run yesterday, so I'm not surprised it's a little bit tight. So you can roll it up into anywhere along the foot here. I like to start in the arch and then kind of roll up and around and try and find anything that's giving me any issues. So after the right foot, switch to the left foot. Same thing. Finding a spot and letting the muscle relax and stretch around that ball. So, really good one to start with. I love starting bottom up. Make sure you don't miss anything. Even some of your knee pain might be stemming from stiffness in the foot or ankle and the calf. And that runner's knee, I find, comes from people with really tight calves when they're running. I find a lot of runners have really, really tight calves, not very good dorsiflexion. So if that sounds like you, maybe add some of this stuff in before all your runs. So rolled it pretty well. You can take as much time as you think you need. If it's tighter, just take a little extra time there. So next, move into the calves, right after the feet. I like to use a roller. You can use the ball, it's a little more aggressive, but I'm gonna stick with the roller for now. So same thing, gonna be working bottom up. I start not right at the ankle, don't wanna be rolling the Achilles tendon. I like to roll right where that tendon meets the muscle. You can actually get a good stretch in the calf muscle here. So we're gonna start, I'm kind of rotating across, nice and slow. Finding anything tight, sit there, let it relax. And then move about an inch or two up, do the exact same thing. So really important to get your calves ready. Calves, hamstrings, and hips ready before you run. I know if I just sprint right out the door, I usually have pretty tight hips, so I'm starting to feel low back pain if I don't do any of this stuff. I used to have runner's knee until I started stretching my calves out better and my feet better. If that's an issue for you, if you have that runner's knee, try this stuff, it might help. So I found with my runner's knee, it hurt kind of from minute 2 to minute 15, and then it kind of went away. Now I don't have that issue at all anymore, just loosening up the calves and the feet before I get out onto the pavement. Alright, so just trying to find any problem areas, getting the calves nice and ready, waking them up a bit. If you have really stiff calves, obviously take a little extra time here. So I'm going to keep going, but it's going to be the same idea, finding that tight spot, letting the muscle relax around. Okay. So now, I'm not going to quite go to the hamstrings. We're going to do some dynamic stretching later on with that. First, what we're going to do, 25 jumping jacks, making sure you're nice and light on the toes. Kind of mimics where your weight should be landing when you're running. So let's get up, do 25 of those. All right. So now we're done our jumping jacks. Let's start doing some dynamic stretching. Really good to get the hamstrings stretched a little bit before you go. Don't want to static stretch before your run. You're actually going to lose some of that tension if you overstretch. So you got to do that dynamic stretching and rolling before, and then the isometric stretches at the end. So going to do some hamstring swings. So one foot goes in front, toe up, hinging at the hip. 1, 2, 3, switching sides. Make sure you're pulling that toe up. Should feel a little bit of a stretch in the calf as well here. So 5 sets per side. Should be able to get a little bit lower each time. All right, so now we're gonna move up into the hips a little bit here. So gonna do some down dog. That's gonna give us a stretch, hamstrings and calves. And then we're gonna step forward with one leg. So gonna start in our down dog, stepping right foot up to the right hand, and then trying to let our hips drop. Can even try and get a little bit lower if you're flexible. I like to put my hand on this knee, rotate up, look up the ceiling, and back, and kick back. And on the knee, rotate up, and back. So you don't want to be sitting too long in each position. Just enough to get those muscles stretching, but not overstretching. Okay, so now you're ready. Get outside, do your run, hit this pause on this video, and then when you get back, hit play, and we'll finish it off with a good stretch to kind of loosen everything up so you're not sore tomorrow. So I'll see you after your run. All right, guys, if you just went for your run, welcome back. If not, if you're just doing this to get a good stretch in today, that works too, but this is really ideal for running or if you did some sort of workout outside. So now that you're back, we're gonna start by stretching the hips now, kind of work from the hips down a little bit. So we're going to start in 90-90. So what that means is heels right underneath the knee, knees right underneath the hips. And you're going to try and rotate your pelvis back. So if you think about tailbone coming underneath and the top of your hip going back, you should start to feel a stretch right there. So we're going to hold this 15 seconds or so. We'll turn toward the camera here, same thing. So we're still in that 90-90. So after about 15 seconds, you're going to step forward, that front foot a little further, hands come down inside, and let's pull this back knee off the floor. So should start feeling a good stretch right through the hips. If you're pretty flexible, you can bring your elbows down. What you want is this pretty vertical. I'm just dropping my knee out to the outside, it's not behind my knee. Foot's flat on the ground. And just try and sink lower and lower. So you want to hold this for 30 seconds to a minute. Hopefully slowly working your way down to the floor. All right, so I'm going to come out of that nice and slow. Keep that foot in front, this foot behind, sitting back on that back foot. I like to have a little bend in the knee here. Pull the toe up towards me. Kind of grab it and just give it a little tug. I should feel a stretch right in the calf and the hamstring. I want to avoid feeling most of the stretch right behind the knee. That's where all the tendons are. You're not going to get much out of that. Try and straighten that knee a little bit just to get deeper into the stretch. Okay, and that foot's actually going to stay forward. We're going to come forward into pigeon. So dropping that foot across, hips go down, arms come down, and relax here. Another 30 seconds to a minute. Try and relax here. You can even put your hands out, head down to the ground. All right, so should be hitting the glute pretty good there. Now we're just going to switch sides. So coming up slowly, going to start back in that 90-90. Rotating the pelvis back. Should be feeling the stretch right in the hip here. Unless you're really tight in the quads, you might feel it there as well. So after that 15 seconds, bring that foot forward, those hands down inside the front foot. See how I'm dropping the knee out to the outside, but my leg's still pretty vertical. Keeping that back knee off. You can kind of see it's off the ground, just barely off the ground. Love this stretch. I try and do this stretch every day, especially now that I'm sitting more, being at home more. So another 30 seconds to a minute here. Let's try and bring that elbow down to the inside of the foot. All right. So now Same thing, pushing back, toes up. Pulling that toe up. I like to control the knee with this hand. So 30 seconds to a minute here again. I didn't just go for a run, so I'm a little bit stiffer maybe than you are. Hopefully your muscles are nice and warm. You didn't wait too long after your run to start doing this. And foot forward, lastly, for pigeon. So this is where we're gonna finish. So finishing it off, another 30 seconds to a minute. If you wanna take longer, you can. The longer you stretch, better you're gonna feel. So just take your time with this stuff. Kind of went through it a little bit quickly, but listen to your body. You know when your stretch is not really stretching anymore. So take as long as you need. All right, have a good one, guys. See you next week.